Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Family, how are you doing? Happy Saturday. Well, I'm sorry. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a blessed Sunday. Things are moving along well for you. You're ready for the week as it's coming along. It's here, brothers and sisters. It is here. So I'm reading some comments that there's no sound on the drumming. I don't know why that is, brothers and sisters. I apologize profusely. I really wanted to lead in the show an amazing drummer, amazing musician, jazz drummer. His name is Ralph Peterson Jr. Ralph Peterson Jr. passed away today. Sometime before the show, early today, passed away from complications of cancer. So I will, in order to make sure you understand what an amazing talent that he was, I'm actually going to play it back, if you guys don't mind. And I'm going to give him his shine. Now, let's just be clear. I'm going to be very, very clear, brothers and sisters. I never got to hang out with Ralph Peterson Jr. I was introduced to him through his music. The first piece of art I ever bought for him was Ralph Peterson Presents the Fotet. That's F-O apostrophe tet, the Fotet, so like a quartet, if you will. And I enjoyed his music so much, brothers and sisters, that it just endeared me, for lack of a better word, to really, really, really investigate this guy. And he was a musician's musician. He was a drummer's drummer. And when I say that, it meant that he was a humble student of the music, a humble student and learner of knowledge in terms of jazz music. What that means is he didn't start out at the top. He reminds me of myself when I was younger because he switched instruments. He wanted to play drums, but he wound up playing trumpet. And from that love of trumpet, he didn't give up, and he wound up going on and being an exceptional drummer, playing with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, a very, very famous jazz grouping. They're still playing, as a matter of fact. So let me apologize right up front to everybody because I feel like I cheated you. This was probably the time I really need to get this to you, and it comes to me because I needed to get it right, and I didn't get it right. So let me just apologize for that. Please accept my apologies. As well, I want to make sure that people understand a little bit about jazz artists. Not a lot about jazz artists, just a little bit about jazz artists. And the fact that we love the purity of sound. Sound over noise. We like sound over noise. So if you're coming on the show for the first time, hey, thank you for coming. Here's the deal. Don't be a wallflower. Get in the comment section. We appreciate you spending your time. But I'm beginning to come to the point, hey, listen, we've done these shows for a lot, so I don't really feel like I have to give a whole lot of explanation to people. I'm telling you, thank you for coming to the program. If you want to do the subscription button, the notification button, the like button, that's all cool. I am so far beyond that right now. And just thankful and grateful. Yes, I had a topic, the potluck story, brothers and sisters. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a doozy. It was called Crack Vaccine and Lies. I felt like this particular potluck, we need to have a talk about some of the things I'm beginning to connect, or even more so, some of the things I've missed a connection on. So before we do that, let me introduce my brothers and sisters who are in the comment section, better known as the ShOUT family. I'm going to run down now, and I do have a special delivery. Maybe that's why I didn't have the sound right. I had my food delivery. So maybe that's why I messed up the sound. I'm putting it on myself. So I want to give a shout out to Ree, who is she is our show dietitian, craft services. She has been, and I haven't even seen it. What's on the food today? And y'all don't mind if I'm gonna take the aluminum foil off. Oh yeah, but oh boy, this right here is just wrong. Can I show y'all this? Can I show you, family? I think we need, when we have our get together for the ShOUT show, and it won't be no virtual joint. I need to show y'all the food. Okay? Hopefully I don't drop it on my computer. Okay, let's see. We got chicken. We got chicken over here. Right? All right. We got mac and cheese. Oh boy, look at that mac and cheese. And you talking about a Muslim can't have dirty rice. Dirty rice right there. And of course, we got the collard greens in the middle. Okay. What does that mean, brothers and sisters? I'm going to call this show, I'm going to call that meal, Sister Ree, That's gonna be my repast meal for Brother Ralph. I'm going to mourn and eat to a drummer's beat. So let me get through everybody right now. So we got grilled chicken, macaroni and cheese. We got some collard greens that just smelling oh so good, and we got dirty rice. You know what? It's nice to be the host of the Shout Out Show. It's nice to be Preacher Moss right now. But let me introduce everybody. Thank you again, Rhea. I really appreciate it. I know you put your heart and soul into this food. It looks amazing. I appreciate it. Talking about heart and soul into the show, we have Satana Whitfield, who is our consultant producer. She does amazing things to make sure your brother stays on point. Sister Satana, I am going to send you the information for one Dr. Sylvia Traymore, who will be on our show for our Saturday Spotlight. Our first comedian will be a trailblazer, brother and sister, a monster in the game. People are just beginning to realize how much work she did in the game before, Def Jam and all that type of stuff. She has lived a lifetime most comedians wish they could live. And she's just as nice as the day is long. Okay? Now, let me give a shout out. This is Sister Lornia Hollandquist Chase. That's her husband, Brother Derek, who brought the food over here. Thank you, Brother Derek. Man, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate all of you. All tough? Yes, you're right. Preach was lame on the drumming. I'm going to rebrand. I've already took it back so we can hear just the talent. A lot of times we don't get to celebrate. Now, when we talk about people, and I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something that Ralph Peterson was my age. He passed away. He was 58 years old. I'm 54. So that gives you a little bit of introspection about where I am in my life and why these things affect me. So I've essentially had almost 30 plus years of access to his music, of access to his art, of access to his blessings. So it hit me a little bit. So please allow me to do that. We got a shout out. Sister Reed saying shout out family. She's getting family shout outs. And let me get this from my man right here. Altaf wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Because everybody has places to be. And I feel like this is my place where I feel comfortable with people who feel comfortable with me. I know we don't have long shows. A lot of people have 2-3 hour shows. That's not necessary. You got places to go. I want you to go places. I want you to have engage as much of your day as you can. Thank you for coming on the Shout Out Show, but of course you got other things to do, and I want to be respectful of that. Talk about respect, big respect for my little brother Johnny L. Thomas. Little brother, thank you so much for coming on the show. Peace and blessings to my nephews, that's Ray and Jordan and Justin. Justin and Ray moved into a new house in Milwaukee. We hope everything works out, and give a big shout out to Mama Yolanda, because I know both of y'all been working to death. So peace and blessings to you. All right. And I'm not even gonna put that. Reed wants to apologize for being late with the food. Are you kidding? You can never be late with macaroni and cheese, grilled chicken, collard greens, and rice to a Negro sitting in the house talking to a computer. You can never be late. Okay. Oh, and here you go. You got it. Look. So Tana saying it's looking good. It's looking good. Let me give a shout out. Thank you again, brother Derek. I appreciate you, man. So I hope y'all don't mind if you can give me a do-over, if you can give me a mulligan, just to show a little bit of this, solo from Ralph Peterson. I hope you guys don't mind. And the reason I'm saying that, because this guy is prolific, okay? When I say prolific, I mean he is that good. So if you guys allow me, I'm just going to go. I'm going to show a little piece, and then we'll talk about our topic, or I'll mend it a little bit, and maybe I'll carry it for another time. But just understand, like I said, I opened up my computer. I was doing other things. I was busy today, and I realized a guy that I really respected in the music, the jazz side of the game. I mean, someone literally I'd grown. He played with guys I like Roy Hargrove, Courtney Pine, Terrence Blanchard, Branford Marsalis, Betty Carter. People like Branford Marsalis and Terrence Blanchard. I work with them. I open for those guys. So, I feel a kinship, a jazz kinship, if you will. So please allow me to just play a little bit of this. If there's a problem with the sound, because I'm not perfect, just shout it out in the box. But I think I have the situation worked out. Hold on a moment. Much love, Ralph Peterson, man. We hate to see you go. The law knows best. From law we come to law we return. Whew. So, with the remaining part of the show, I'd like to talk about something that's been on my mind. There's a documentary on Netflix simply called Crack. Now, one thing I can say about Mr. Peterson, myself, and guys around my age is we all grew up in the 80s. And the 80s was the transition from cocaine to crack cocaine. And it becomes years and years later that people have an understanding that the metamorphosis of drug policy, that the idea of mandatory sentencing, 3 strikes you're out, has ruined a generation of people, namely African American people of color. It has ruined a generation of people. It was racist. You can read, the new Jim Crow and things like that. But people like Ralph Peterson, people like myself, and guys around my age why we don't talk about it a lot. We all kind of revel that we made it out of the crack era. This is not a badge of honor. We're not bragging or anything like that. Because in that time as a youth, we all grew up with the post-traumatic stress syndrome of coming out of the crack era. And the legislation and the politics and the lies. And now I find myself being a bit reflective because we're now in the era of vaccines. You see, the crack era had to do with drugs. And now the vaccine era has to do with drugs. And the viability of these drugs, the same as in the crack era, in 2021, has to deal with the idea of particularly African American acceptance of these drugs. There's an old commercial. It's a cereal commercial, Life cereal. There was a white kid named Mikey. He said, "Hey, Mikey likes it." And they would give it to Mikey and he said, I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to eat it. No, you eat it. And it's brothers. And finally, Mikey, the little kid, eats it. And everybody goes, "Hey, Mikey likes it." And everybody eats it. The black community for so many times has been looked at as Mikey. We are the test rats. We are the lab rabbits. We are the people that they dissect and put together, along with other folks. But we are the primary folks because, A, we are culturally in a place where we get culturally appropriated. So our habits get culturally appropriated. If you think about it, the crack era, the cocaine era, to the crack era, to the weed era, to the vaccine era, they all have the similar type of DNA. The similar type of DNA. Because it has to do so much with the expression of black people to demonstrate capacity. The thing I remember about crack is the same thing I'm thinking about vaccine. We have the capacity to talk, we don't have the capacity to produce our own medical solutions for things. The whole market of hydroponics and growing weed is a political piece. It means that people have made it politically viable to sell weed. Cocaine and crack destroyed families, generations. And now there's a fear about the vaccine. The vaccine in the midst of a pandemic. That is many regards. And I'm asking people what you're going to do, take it, not take it. But understand the way in which it's being given to you. See, this whole story that I'm giving you right now, there's two examples. And I don't know how they hit it, but they hit it in this documentary. It starts with Richard Pryor, who is a comedian that I love, that I saluted. That I didn't, I'm going to say worship, but I loved and saluted Richard Pryor. Y'all know, I put Richard Pryor on yesterday, singing. Why? Because I'm like, man, this is something else he could do. What couldn't he do? But Richard Pryor was a truth teller. And when he had his accident, his freebasing accident, while we laughed, as a young man and adults, we laughed at Richard Pryor because Richard Pryor could make us laugh at something that was so tragic. What he was telling us, brothers and sisters, that this freebase almost cost me my life. That the cocaine intoxication made me think that I could light myself on fire, kill myself, and it was okay. And I can't tell you if he ever shook that addiction. That's not my point. But if you ever watch his documentary, Omit the Logic, they talk about this and him getting on stage. And he got on stage to do Richard Pryor live on Sunset Strip. And he didn't look well. He looked like a guy who just got off of cocaine, trying to make it. And we cheered for Richard Pryor. I didn't cheer for Richard Pryor for his jokes. I cheered Richard Pryor for his resiliency. And I wanted him to win. Not just win the audience over that night. I wanted Richard Pryor to win against that cocaine. And then years later, a guy even closer to me, just like Ralph Peterson, a young basketball player out of the D.C. area that all of us loved. His name was Lenny Bias. And Lenny Bias left us on cocaine. And it was so devastating that they rewrote drug law. But they didn't rewrite drug law about rehabilitation, about education. They made it totally punitive. And it opened the gateway for people to go out brothers and sisters, and have 3 strikes you're out. You see, since the Reagan years in the 80s all the way up to Clinton, black folk never caught a break. Latinos never caught a break. The poor never caught a break in terms of drug law. Not at all. If you got caught with cocaine, you're going to jail. There's a great joke by Earthquake. And Earthquake says, well, if you have crack cocaine, you go to jail for 25 years. But if you're caught with powder cocaine, you go for a year and a half. And he says the thing is, don't mix the powder for people. Here's your baking soda. Here's your cocaine. And I laugh at that joke because it's genius. Because we find ourselves in yet another drug situation. As we talk about vaccines, brothers and sisters, I have to say we have to look at the players. I was talking to my mother earlier, and we were talking about vaccine. I said we have to get out of this rhetorical circle of we just thinking about thinking. We're just thinking about thinking. We're not thinking forward. We're thinking about thinking. Not making decisions, making moves. Not making decisions. And it becomes more and more incumbent because people are telling us things that they don't live. The lies, if you will. 2016 is an election loss because we have people telling us your vote's not going to count. We were disfranchised. You are disfranchised people. Look at it on Facebook. Look at it on Instagram. You don't want to do this. You don't want to vote. They don't respect you, blah, 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 blah. And then we got 4 years of Trump. And then the flip part of it, that happened to us. Then they turned around to white Trump supporters and said, your voice doesn't count, your vote doesn't count, you're disenfranchised if you lose, if the people stole it. And I'm like, when are we going to have a really, really meaningful engagement with the people who lied to us? And I don't mean an engagement, I'm talking about let's peel back the sheets. Because when the media does it, everybody's desensitized. But when we do it, when we galvanize our power, when we put together a format or political action committee that says we will affect the economics of how you live, then we'll have power. In that space, we'll reframe things, not just about drug laws, but also about how they demonstrate or how they distribute vaccines. Because right now, if I wasn't thinking, they are putting people in a situation with the vaccines where you're fiending for it. There's an addiction we got to get fixed during this pandemic. And we got to get a vaccine. All of a sudden, we've gone away from the other things about social distancing and a mask. And remember, what you eat and how much you sleep and prayer. Now we're putting it in one shot. Well, you got to get 2 shots for Moderna, Pfizer, and 1 shot for Johnson & Johnson. I'm saying don't listen to the lies. Follow your heart and do your research in terms of vaccines. But understand, brothers and sisters, the people who are giving us these vaccines are the same people that gave us the crack in some regards. Meaning they knew what the viability and volatility of the things they were giving us could do. I will never forgive the politicians who let crack run amok. You can say, hey, people have their own decisions. No. There was compliance. I understand planning, and more so, like everyone here, I understand strategic planning. And the lies that were told then are now recurring as the lies that are told now. Black people are having arguments about the vaccine and da-da-da, and I understand a healthy dialogue. But, you can't take Jimmy Joe off the corner in Junebug and talk to them like they're infectious disease experts. And here's a news flash. We have black expertise in infectious disease. Let it be known, brothers and sisters, this Pfizer Moderna vaccine, whatever, I think Pfizer, that came from a black man at NIH. And don't be fooled. The issue of bringing the drug to market in the trials has very little to do with the testing. The testing has been ongoing. It has to do with who gets credit for it. Because the United States government, they have research grants, but they can't pay themselves. they sell it to the Pfizer and Moderna. And they have to work out, unfortunately, they have to work out who gets paid in the after set, on the back end of it. And then they give you, of course, your vaccines. Let me give a shout out to my mom here. I collect my last thoughts. Mom is blowing up my musical talent. Don't tell them I play violin, Mary. They're going to think I'm a sissy. No, I'm just kidding. I tried to play guitar, but I did play the alto sax. I still got one here. But as I sit here trying to focus, smelling this food. No, I'm just kidding. Have that conversation in your house. Look at the scope of history from 1980. You can even go back to the Nixon years. The Nixon years were building policy off the idea of drug use in the urban community. These are political strategies. And it was seen to me that you had Reagan in office for 8 years, Bush in office for 4 years, Clinton in office for 8 years. What's the thing that's all the stream of consciousness? They all won on the back of black suffrage in terms of punitive sentencing, mandatory sentencing. All of a sudden, brothers and sisters, drugs were everywhere. My personal introduction to crack was in 1984. 1984, I had a friend of mine, went to Fordham University. We were hanging around around Christmas. He said, I'm going to get high. Of course, everybody thought it was going to be weed. Nah, he pulled out this little thing, a little lighter, a little crack rock, and he smoked it. And let's just say he went to the bathroom on himself. The weird part is he didn't know. But in the group of us, we knew it. And I said, I don't know what kind of drug that lets you go to the bathroom on yourself and you not know. Even X-Lax will let you know. And it told me, brothers and sisters, that we were in for a problem. And I watched the whole demographic of guys I grew up with, either in and out of prison, or making bad decisions, or injured or harmed, or I watched it in my own family affect me and people I loved and people I grown up with, because we didn't get out like that all of a sudden. And it was a drug where you would say something like, I didn't know they had a problem talking about drugs. So for this thing, as I've talked about crack in the 80s and the 90s, in 2021, they've moved out of the addictive drug business and now they've looked into the prescriptive drug business. Think about this. You're getting something put in your arm. There's no prescription. They're not necessarily asking your physical habits or your physical condition. You sign a waiver and you take the shot. And they're telling you it's going to be safe. And voila, I hope they're telling us the truth. I hope that it is safe. A lot of people have taken it and, they have some side effects. But some people are going to be sick, and let's be honest, some people are going to die. That's the scope of when you take, for lack of a better word, experimental medicine. But here's my thing. Ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. When we have conversations in our house, in our home, you know what? Look at somebody like Dr. Marcus Lambert and read what he wrote, the stuff that he sent out to our community. He's an infectious disease guy, and he told us the scope of all these things. And he let us know about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and he talked to us about medical malpractice and medical disobedience or inappropriateness, and I get that. But this is the point, brothers and sisters. I look at everything, and I think everybody else, we all look at everything. And I begin to understand that, particularly for the last, definitely since Reagan was in office up till now, you're talking 40 years, the urban community has been, for lack of a better word, in one way or other, in the drug business. That's my show for today, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me. I hope you guys gave me a pass for Brother Ralph Peterson. I want to shout out Brother Ralph Peterson. I love your music. Ralph Peterson presents the Fotet, Volition, the work you did with Betty Carter, the work you did with Terrence Blanchard, the work you did with Roy Hargrove, the work you did as part of the Jazz Messengers. I appreciate that as an artist. A lot of you guys don't know, when I come with these crazy titles sometimes, it's because I've been listening to jazz, and jazz helps me compartmentalize thoughts. So really, if you look at crack vaccine and lies, crack vaccine and lies, crack vaccine and lies, that's a music run. Dun, 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 dun. So before I go, I want to thank you guys for your patience, and hearts and duas out to the Peterson family. I know he has a wife that survives him. I don't know about kids. I don't really get into all of that, but his music survives. And if anybody gets a chance, just go on YouTube and just bring up Ralph Peterson Jr. And when you do it, enjoy yourself. This one's on me. Enjoy yourself. In fact, thank you, Sister Sultana. Before you go, I want to give everybody this. This is we take the COVID-19. Should we take the COVID-19 vaccine? That's the name of the article. Make sure you go to that. It's the MuslimJournal.net / should we take the COVID-19 vaccine. Put a hyphen in between each one. I'm going to say it again. That's the MuslimJournal.net / should we take the COVID-19 vaccine. He doesn't tell you to take the vaccine or not to take the vaccine. What he lays out is a logic that gives you a pathway to a better decision. All right, everybody? So do that. So before we go, I am going to shout out BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Our sponsor, BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. If you don't want to go to the website, you want to go old school, give a call 1-800-679-3175. Again, that's 1-800-679-3175. And that's a friend. The Be Financial Independent is a friend of the Shout Out Show. So we got one more thing up here, and that is the brother I talked about, Dr. Marcus Lambert. Read that article, brothers and sisters. Read that article and share it. I think we need to get into sharing information. Share information. One of the things I remember from Minister Farrakhan years ago talking about crack, about how crack got to where it was, he says, people were so afraid of sharing money that they stopped sharing information. They stopped talking. And when they stopped talking, it wasn't a community, it was a competition. So let's make sure we're not in that space, even with this vaccination, because it's still a drug game. For lack of a better word, it's still a drug game. So look, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate everybody, and thank you for your patience. Again, I apologize for technical glitches with the sound. My heart was in the right place, and I was just trying to do something different. I felt a certain way about this brother passing away. A, because he was a fellow artist and creative, but B, he's around my age, and 58, it's hard. He passed away at 58, and I didn't even know he had been battling cancer for a number of years, just like Roy Hargrove, who died in his 40s. I know he was battling. So all these jazz musicians, our family members, take note that people around us are passing away, and they're passing away relatively young. So with that, let me say thank you so much for listening to me, for hearing me out, for communicating with me and supporting this platform. I appreciate you. And Sister E, thank you again for the food. I'm going to enjoy it. I know I'm going to fall asleep during class tonight, but hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. That's a shout out show, everybody. Have a blessed day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next shout out show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarif Altar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out TarifAltar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.